Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we're going to discuss the major astrology of June 2025 as we move into a new phase of energies of the year. June, July, and August are going to be very different energetic experiences than what we've had so far in the first 5 months of 2025. This is going to move us into brand new experiences, important decisions, perhaps even life-changing choices. And we're also going to see a lot unfolding on the world stage that ushers in the new as the old falls away. So I'm going to discuss all of that, plus the major astrological transits of June 2025 by date, so you can have a heads up around what this month will bring up, as well as what to look for in your own astrology chart. For those who are new to this podcast, welcome. I discuss and share astrological insights through an energetic and intuitive lens. The focus is on empowering you on your own path and in your own spiritual growth. This astrology is designed to help you evolve and awaken to more of your own gifts, energies, and potentials, especially in this very dynamic phase of energy that we are going to be experiencing for the rest of the decade and beyond. That's how big of a transition point we're moving through. And we're at this entry point that is in between worlds. And part of June is going to be this intense pressure that's been building between worlds. So I'm going to describe that here in just a moment. But one of the key words for June is catalyst. This is a month of catalyzing you forward, moving you into new parts of your experience, making changes, new beginnings, fresh chapters are starting to show up here in June, and that's because of the significance of outer planets transiting into new signs and making some square aspects to each other. Saturn has entered Aries as of May 24th, 2025, and Saturn is at 0 degrees and 1 degree of Aries throughout June, and making a conjunction to Neptune also in the very early degrees of Aries. In June, Neptune will be at 1 and 2 degrees of Aries. And so these two archetypal expressions are where we are feeling the pressure rising. The pressure is increasing. And how I'm seeing this come together is that Saturn is the 3D. It's about our physical world and everyday environments, our structures, our life responsibilities and commitments. Saturn is where we have to show up and get work done. It's where we have proof and evidence of what we have mastered, as well as what we have applied energy to that is paying off. Keep in mind that Saturn brings about rewards and accomplishments. I know Saturn often gets more heavily described as being that burden and challenge, which is true unless you're aware of how Saturn requires us to be in the physical. So Saturn is actually very important on our spiritual path because it's how we have to take a body to show up in this 3D reality. Saturn grounds our spirit onto Earth. Saturn brings us into the physical structures that gives us our senses and allows us to be a part of this particular frequency of energy. So Saturn is a denser frequency. Then we have Neptune, and Neptune is associated with the otherworldly realms, with what you cannot touch and cannot see necessarily, but you feel it and you sense it. Neptune is the 5D expressions that expand us beyond the physical world and open us up to even more of what is possible that we don't see. Neptune is not about the evidence, the facts, or the proof. Neptune is about the unlimited potentials of energies always flowing and ebbing and moving that continue to connect us to our own limitless potentials and open us up to more of what's possible that we can dream about, wish for, where we hold trust and faith and hope that we need to guide us through this journey and to lift us out of the physical world. So here we have these two worlds merging in the early degrees of Aries in your chart. And in June, this is a big focal point because look at it as two aspects of yourself. Two expressions of your own frequency are coming together. And there is this increased pressure to consciously choose, how am I going to show up in my life now? I feel this as a seeded rebirth, that this conjunction that is going to play out here in June, July, and August is amplifying to very different energy frequencies and requiring us to consciously choose, how do I want to show up in my life? And am I truly living that frequency? Now, even though Saturn and Neptune are not going to be exactly conjunct, they are conjunct as they are traveling so close together, less than a degree apart most of the next 3 months. And so we do consider that a conjunction. And keep in mind that as they do so, they're also in a sextile to Pluto in Aquarius, currently retrograde at 3 degrees, signaling that we are opening up into whole new timelines and frequencies that are going to advance us rapidly. And so this pressure that is unfolding is about you being consciously aware of more of your true self. These energies are dominating Saturn, meaning Neptune is more influential and Pluto is more influential. So they are applying a very intense evolutionary experience to our sense of self, to life as we have known it, to our self-identities as we have known them, and asking us to move up on our ascension path with a whole new level of awareness around our potentials. Aries, being the first sign of the zodiac, is the potential. It's the desire to trust yourself to move ahead, to take that risk where the energy just guides you. That fiery Aries spirit inspires you to make moves, do something new, do something fresh, be open to the journey. It's the Fool card in Tarot, where you're ready to say yes and just see how it goes. It's also the part of you that feels very deeply at a cellular level that you are here to be more than you've known yourself to be. But there could be an internal struggle, an internal pressure around, can I trust this? Can I do this? Am I ready? Am I capable? And that Saturn in Aries wants to slow down the Aries fire and temper it so that it's used responsibly and it doesn't burn out too quickly. So there's the task here of tempering the fire, allowing the initiation to continue on and to move forward at a slower pace without extinguishing the flames or feeling defeated or giving up if you're not receiving immediate results. So I'm also feeling that what we're seeing globally, at least in the collective energy frequencies, are very pronounced polarizations on people who have been doing their work, who are healing and working on evolving, ascending, and moving forward. Those who are attuned to a higher trajectory of soul growth and who are embodying more of the higher 5D frequencies of love, connection, collaboration, support, and harmonizing with others in those higher realms. There are many who are more regularly living in these higher frequencies and who are on their path and leading the way, not only for themselves, but for their soul group. And keep in mind that part of the Saturn and Neptune in Aries is about moving forward and being ready to initiate new stages of experiences and energies on the planet that allow others to do the same. So it's about facing things from those higher frequencies, which is also revealing those who are stuck and stagnant in the more denser 3D expressions. So it is more pronounced who is not doing their work or who is not set on a healing path. Those who are not for whatever reason that is their free will and their sovereign choice, they are not evolving themselves. They are stuck in those lower frequencies of war, competition, violence, attacks, discord, and lower emotional frequencies that are not being consciously worked with. And so the divide is greater, the polarization is bigger. And part of the gifts of this phase is that you're meant to see it. You're meant to really see it. And that's why the extremes are showing up, where there can be more extreme peace, joy, abundance, and love that you're connecting to and feeling, while at the same time, there are more extremes around those who are on a very different wavelength and creating a very different reality for themselves. So if you can understand that it's part of a phase to see how drastically different the energies are, it helps to make sense of what's going on. It helps to understand, for example, those who have evil intentions, those who are set upon targeting others, trying to destroy them, trying to harm them, creating lies about their character, their family, their energy. Some people are highly committed to the old ways. So if you can identify it faster, it explains it, right? It explains it more quickly. And these energies are more pronounced because there is no fooling energy. Energy is very direct and clear. And as we ascend, so is our intuition. And you can feel when something is off. You can feel that discomfort. For example, you can feel when you're going into an environment that's heavily influenced by what we would call the lower 3D energies. And you can feel that you're in a space that maybe you move slower, your body feels heavier, there's less openings in the energy field. Then you can understand more quickly, that's what's going on here. That's the environment I'm in. And it's such a contrast to being in more of those open, flowing, lighter environments that are more aligned or perhaps just feel more peaceful and light. So you're meant to see things right now. And you're meant to trust what you see. Now, keep in mind, there are those who want you to stay behind, who want you to stay in their frequency, and who will do so through control, manipulation, and various tactics that keep you within their spectrum of experiences. Think of it as, someone's trying to grab your ankle and pull you back into their reality so that they can feed off of your energy. There can be a lot of energy siphoning and power hoarding with these 3D energies right now, because these are also the energies that know that people are moving on. They're not interested. They're not interested in those games or tactics. They're not paying attention. They don't care. They're ready for the next level. They've graduated away from something. And again, you could be feeling this in multiple areas of your life, especially if you're around those who are not participating in an ascending cycle. And there's people who won't. I mean, we have to just accept this. Not everyone is here to evolve in this lifetime for whatever reasons they're choosing, for whatever their soul intends. But with the strong focus on Aries, it's looking at what's best for you. What do you commit to? What do you choose based on the power of who you are and how you're feeling these energies elevate you in ways that are fresh and brand new. This is a big part of June, July, and August, where it becomes more obvious and drastically clear where the energetic divide is occurring, and yet where you need to choose what is correct for you and what aligns for you. June has very strong cardinal energy, specifically Aries and Cancer energies, as both Saturn and Neptune are in the early degrees of Aries. Jupiter enters Cancer on June 9th, and then the Sun enters Cancer June 20th. This means that not only are the early degrees of Aries calling for your attention, but the early degrees of Cancer are as well. And even though it's mostly Gemini season for 3 weeks of June, which I'll touch on in a minute, it's this background energy here that's happening between 0, 1, and 2 degrees of Aries, and 0, 1, and 2 degrees of Cancer in your chart that are creating an intense square around change that you're ready to begin. So that Aries energy is asking you to be honest, be brave, be courageous, trust in the strength of who you are now. And that Cancer energy wants a comfort zone, wants to feel emotionally safe, doesn't necessarily want to move ahead, but there is a requirement here in June that's going to push you forward into new chapters, and you're going to have to be consciously aligning your emotional body and how you're feeling with these changes as they occur. This could mean there are more emotions coming up here in June that you need time to work through and process. This could feel like a very intense growth opportunity that occurs in a way that is beyond what you expected. This intensification here of early Aries and early Cancer in your chart, the two houses where you have 0, 1, and 2 degrees of Aries, and 0, 1, and 2 degrees of Cancer are colliding to co-create a whole new way for you to honor who you are and how you feel, and to know that both of these contribute to your sense of self, and that it's important to look at if that Cancer energy is pulling you back into previous emotional patterns or cycles, to identify if this Cancer energy is moving you forward, which is what Jupiter in Cancer wants you to do. Jupiter comes in and opens up this Cancer energy on June 9th and wants you to feel into more of your own wisdom, truth, needs, and heart. Cancer is where we form connections, where we are able to bond in healthy ways with other people. This is where love for self really gets rooted, and then the energy is meant to go out and create those really beautiful connections with others on the same frequency. Jupiter is also a spiritual protector, where Jupiter creates a way for you to get to the heart of what you're feeling and to do so in a way that uplifts you, that brings about more self-acceptance and self-compassion. And it's fascinating to note that Jupiter is also the protector over Earth in terms of the astronomy, because Jupiter has such a powerful gravitational field that Jupiter protects Earth from comets and asteroids and all those crazy things out there in space by deflecting those objects away from Earth. So right there, we understand more about how Jupiter works, because it literally protects Earth, sort of like a cosmic shield or a powerful spiritual barrier that doesn't allow distortions, damage, or disruptions to hit our planet. And so then when we look at the astrology, that's also where Jupiter is now coming into the Cancer areas of your chart to provide that cosmic shield, that spiritual barrier around your Cancer energies to help you feel more safe in whatever you're feeling and whatever you're processing or empathetically picking up, and then allowing you to grow from it, evolve with it, and use it in an advantageous way. So you could have an emotional pressure point here applying to your sense of self around what you want to start and move towards next. There could even be lack of clarity with this pressure. But both Aries and Cancer, being cardinal signs that initiate you into a new season, a new experience of your life, are coming together in June to start something and to ensure that both your strength and confidence of Aries and your emotional body and heart of Cancer can work together and harmonize this new start. Jupiter enters Cancer on June 9th and begins to make that exact square to both Saturn and Neptune in Aries. So as soon as Jupiter moves into Cancer, the energy's on, because they're only separated by a degree or so. The exact square to Saturn happens on June 15th at 1 degree 16 minutes. Then Jupiter will have the exact square to Neptune in Aries at 2 degrees on June 18th. So the middle of the month is when the intensification really is felt and starts to pick up. Then we have the Sun enter Cancer on June 20th. That is the summer solstice here in the Northern Hemisphere. The Sun enters Cancer at 10:42 p.m. Eastern Time, and then the Sun squares Saturn in Aries June 22nd, and then squares Neptune in Aries the next day, June 23rd, and then on June 24th, the Sun and Jupiter are conjunct in Cancer at 3 degrees. And then after the Sun and Jupiter are conjunct, there will be the Cancer new moon on June 25th at 4 degrees. So all in all, what we're looking at is June 15th until June 25th. There is an intense pressure here, as I've been describing, in the Cancer area of your chart and the early degrees of Aries, pressuring you for a new beginning point while bringing to your attention what no longer works, where there is not energy to move you forward. This can also highlight important endings, closures, and what is complete. Now that's because not only are these planets in the early degrees of cardinal signs, that means there are parts of your world that can't go into this new chapter. There are parts of your experience, emotions, connections, relationships, work responsibilities, whatever it might be, that are not able to go forward. And so there are also significant endings here. And we always have to look at that because there's both sides of the story, right? There's both sides of an equation where if you're starting something new, you've got to focus on that. You have to be available and ready for it. And that means that other things are going to fall away and close out. The pressure to decide is going to be heightened. And again, that's why this is a month that will provide a catalyst for you in some manner. Energetically, you're going to have parts of yourself fall away, meaning parts of your old frequency are going to leave and be done. You could sense that you've just closed out a major chapter in your life, that you've now put a period at the end of the sentence, that you've made some clear decisions to lead you forward. And therefore, those previous codes you've been holding dissolve and fall off. A friend of mine described it as clearing out our Akashic records, that you're closing the book on something, perhaps a significant experience, relationship, cycle, whatever it may be. And it's closing that Akashic record file so that you have full energy to move on and move forward. The energy hierarchy is really interesting too because the Sun and Jupiter are both powerful. They're each powerful in terms of what they radiate and their consciousness and influence. So wherever the Sun is of course providing a very intense consciousness around what we are growing and evolving, and then Jupiter expands that. So this means the emotions are going to be bigger. Your feelings, perhaps your empathy, your sensitivity is also going to be heightened. But then we have Saturn and Neptune in Aries, which is the long-term view, the long-term perspective. So even if you're feeling something and it seems quite amplified and strong and maybe even overpowering, Saturn and Neptune are asking you to choose what serves you for the long term, because they're going to be back here in this same area of your chart in early 2026. So they're just opening up this chapter in June. They're opening up new possibilities, new potentials. Again, that Fool card of what do I choose? Where do I go now? And your emotional body could have a lot to say, but now you're going to have time as well to process and sit with what is truly best for me. Where am I brave and courageous? What aligns with me that perhaps nobody else needs to validate or affirm? So Saturn and Neptune are asking you to responsibly choose what is best for your growth now, even if you're having strong feelings and messages come up that are meant to move through. They're meant to flow through you, and that is the healthy experience of all of the water signs. So know that even if it comes up in a big way, it won't last forever. It's going to move through you. And again, help clear out those Akashic records fields, perhaps clear out old codes and past memories from other lifetimes, other soul journeys, other parts of yourself that have been dormant that you're ready to finalize and empty yourself from. It's also worth noting that in June, Mercury is going to be moving through Cancer too. Mercury enters Cancer June 8th and moves quickly through that water sign and enters Leo on June 26th. So only 2 weeks or so in Cancer, but that means our mental body is going to need time to process, think through, and dip into our emotional messages. And so that can also bring up a need to pull back, to be more alone, to process and consider things. There can be a sense here too of you don't want to speak from an overly empathetic place or an overly sensitive or defensive place. So this Mercury in Cancer wants to give voice to what you're feeling, but make sure you're going to a safe place, a safe person, and you're accessing that sacred space that allows you to be in your feelings and say what's on your heart or what's in your current experience and allow it to shift and change. And that's another key part of this month, is that there will be some big shifts and changes that move through us as part of this clearing out and the new beginnings that arrive. Now, as I go through these energies, we're basically just focusing on these early degrees of Aries and early degrees of Cancer in your chart because they're dominant. But in the Wednesday podcast episodes is where I take you through each week and the transiting aspects of the planets that unfold week by week. So that will be more of a focused in understanding of the astrology energies. And this is the highlights, or basically that overarching energy field that we are working with. So it's going to be an emotional month, a big month for new beginnings. This can certainly be what we experience on the world stage as it becomes more evident what energies are supporting humanity and taking us forward and which ones are not. The Aries energy often brings up anger. And with Saturn newly in Aries, you could realize you're angry about something and you didn't connect with that feeling before. It could have been a repressed anger or just something you weren't able or ready to acknowledge. With the emotional field turned up in June, we will need responsible ways to flow with what we're feeling and to ground ourselves into acceptance and gratitude. Acceptance connects you to a deeper sense of what is presently occurring. It allows you to be in your power and connects you to your soul's journey. It's accepting, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what's unfolding. This is the assignment. And there is deep power in acceptance because you're able to pull something in closer and work with it from a commanding place. There's ownership in acceptance. There's an understanding too that everything is designed to support you in the higher realms. So ask for that guidance. How is this supporting me now? Where is my power coming alive at a whole new level of my being? How am I able to grow from this and evolve from this? Which is also a theme of both cardinal signs. The Aries and Cancer energy wants you to grow and bloom into more of your authentic nature. And it also brings in both the masculine and feminine expressions here, as Aries is associated with the masculine and Cancer is associated with the feminine. So this could also be part of what you are trying to wrangle this month. You're feeling and experiencing both of these expressions, and you're like, how do I allow both to be welcomed and heard without one dominating the other. Or rather, when one does dominate, I'm able to bring it back into greater cooperation and internal harmony. You could have people arriving in your life who represent these archetypes. You could have someone who shows up and has those Aries expressions. You could have someone appear who represents those Cancer expressions. So do keep that in your awareness. It's one of the ways that the universe works, where it shows you more of these archetypes in a specific person and can offer you new ways of understanding what you're feeling and what's going on. Now, also in June, we have Venus finally entering Taurus, one of her home signs, on June 5th. She comes home in Taurus, and she's going to be in Taurus until July 4th. So Venus in Taurus is asking us to ground into what we really need, wants us to simplify into the beauty of life and to honor where you're ready to step back or cut out something that is not correct for you. Venus in Taurus brings us into what we need, what we value, what we want, and wants you to focus in on these parts of your experience in order to calm the nervous system and ground you into nature's frequency. This is a very earthy, organic energy that can be quite peaceful, sensual, and calming. This Venus in Taurus is going to support calming the mind, body, and emotional fields. It's going to ask you to turn to what you need on a regular basis that lights you up and also reminds you what's important for the long term. For example, June 1st is the official start of hurricane season. And here in Florida, it's when we are reminded to make sure we have all of the basic essentials for storms. Make sure you've got your food, battery, water, supplies, medications, anything for your pets. Important documents are printed. You just have what you need. You're prepared. And that's very much the Taurus energy of when there is a storm brewing, of when there is a lot of energy circling around and it can throw you off. How do you ground yourself with the basic essentials? Where do you go? Do you have a creative habit that you turn to? A favorite activity that calms you? An activity or pastime that just lets you focus in on the goodness of right now and not be distracted by everything else. And keep in mind that even as we move through these big energies here of the year, there is still a lot of goodness. There's a lot of light. There's a lot of kindness, and it resides within us. So how can you actively continue to contribute that to the collective field as well as into your life? How can you be in that state of an empowered soul who can handle these big energy shifts without losing your grounded footing? And it could be as simple as closing your eyes and putting your hand on your heart to connect with your own pulsing life force that reminds you of what's important and what you need. Also in June, we're going to see Mars enter Virgo on June 17th. So this is also a shift into that grounded, calming perspective that will be needed this month as Mars moves into this second Earth sign that wants to improve, perfect, excel, and make healthy changes that support your energy field. Mars enters Virgo June 17th and stays in this sign until August 6th. This can help with focused action because Mars in Virgo brings together the power of the mind and intelligence into what is effective, what process is needed here so that I can get results and move ahead. And again, I think this is going to be welcomed as we experience these intensifications of Aries and Cancer energies. So as I mentioned, we will be discussing each of these even more in the Wednesday podcast episode. I know this can be a lot to even digest and figure out, but it's meant to give you that bigger understanding of what June is going to offer you, as well as how to be ready for processing deep feelings, memories, and past experiences in a way that ultimately move you forward. As I say all this, I'm also feeling that the earth is going to be bringing up more of the energy codes it's been holding from previous lifetimes, as in earth lifetimes, meaning thousands and thousands of years, as well as codes that have been in the water. This can be a month of big water movement and water activity, as well as very strong shifts in the earth's tectonic fields, but I'm also seeing it deep within the ocean. Now, of course, the earth is always moving. There are many earthquakes happening every day. They just don't all register, or they're not high ranking on the Richter scale. But this is a month where we're going to have more of those energy movements that will create waves and ripple effects, especially with water, fire, volcanoes, flooding, especially if there are ice packs melting at an increased speed. Wildfires and just weather extremes are heightened as well in the cardinal signs here. There has been a lot of activity on the sun, a lot of solar flares, rapidly growing sunspots, and coronal holes that all contribute to what we feel and experience here on the Earth's gravity field and in the atmosphere. Now, this isn't meant to be something to fear, because it's all part of typical cycles that we move through. The sun's cycle, the earth cycle, everything in the universe is designed to keep evolving, growing, and moving. But when we have these heightened periods of activity, we certainly feel them more, especially because our energy has become clearer. So you feel it more drastically than perhaps you did even 5 or 10 years ago. So we have all of these multiple cycles that are increasing in their intensity and growth. So if you're tired and overwhelmed one day and you don't know why, just know it's not you. It's literally in the energy. It's literally what you are picking up on that can throw you off kilter and have you questioning things, when really it's also affirming how beautifully connected you are to these bigger cycles and to all the energies in the universe. So as I stated at the beginning of the podcast here, June, July, and August are pivotal months of the year, and they are transitioning us into new realities, new energy fields, and new experiences that we are designed to move into. But it's not going to just be swift and easy. Rather, there's going to be big choices and decisions to make that will require you to honestly work with your emotional body to clear out outdated codes, memories, experiences, or imprints that you're not meant to take further into your life, while also empowering you to be strong and clear in who you are now, to show up in a confident state of what you want, or at least being open to the new that continues to honor your own ascension path, growth, and personal development. So the chasm, the divide is going to be increasing this month. You're going to see things more clearly. You're going to understand more about who's on the same path as you and who is not. There can also be a lot more fear and anger that gets triggered around these divides. Again, people not wanting you to move forward, people not wanting you to make choices or do something new in your life. That's going to be a big part here of June, July, and August. But the universe is saying, hold strong to who you are and what you want. Stand powerfully in that essence. Work with your soul, your consciousness, and your higher energy fields to strengthen your sense of self and honor your own deep knowingness. And know that this means that people are going to be leaving the planet. There will be an exodus of individuals who cannot stay in the physical. They just don't have that desire to continue on or to continue forward. There should be a deep honoring of a soul's choice to leave, even if it's traumatic or violent, which also plays into the emotional energies of June. There are going to be people who can only go so far, and they come to a standstill in these energies and then make other choices at a soul level. And you could think of it from an energetic perspective of that is their new start. That is their new beginning point. Their ending is then a new beginning on their soul's journey. So one thing that I always seek to offer is that higher perspective, that there are no wrong choices or wrong decisions in the spiritual realms. There's other energies to move towards, there's new experiences to create, but it's all this huge playing field of energy. And it comes down to our consciousness and intentionality around how we experience it. So in your own chart, again, you want to look at where you have those early degrees of Aries and the early degrees of Cancer by house placement. Those two houses are where you are experiencing the pressure point of change in your life, of where you're trying to harmonize it and co-create a new beginning that could feel choppy and uncertain. But remember, it's that Aries energy that's stronger for the long term. There's a lot of transiting aspects here in June. Only Pluto is retrograde this month. All other planets are direct. And I feel like these next few months are going to bring in some kind of dividing line for the year. So we'll keep talking about that in the Wednesday podcast episodes as well. So as always, thank you so much for joining me for this episode. And please be sure to check out more about how 2025 is working with you in my 2025 Soul Growth Astrology program. Those of you who are already enrolled and signed up, just a reminder to log back into your account and get a heads up on what this Jupiter in Cancer is going to bring into your life, as I have a whole presentation for you on that energy. Also, make sure to check out what Uranus in Gemini is going to be accelerating for you in July, since that's coming up in only a month as well. So the 2025 program helps you see where these energies are showing up in your own chart, gives you the lay of the land in terms of the changes and advancements that are coming. You'll also want to check out the next Mercury retrograde and the whole presentation on the eclipses that will be happening in September. Yes, I just mentioned September. I know we're not ready to think about that yet, but it's all there to help you understand your astrology chart even more. And for those of you who would like to join and get this information, you're going to get so much out of it, including more about Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and it's on sale. This program's on sale when you use coupon code 2025. You can get it all for only $44, and it's a program that you log into throughout the year to stay up to date on what's happening for you specifically. So just a reminder to throw out there, because this is a high energy period, and it's wonderful to have a deeper understanding of what is going on for you. So I'll put the link below the podcast as always. Wishing you a beautiful journey through June. And as I said, I'll be back every Monday and Wednesday as we discuss these energies even more and make the best of them as we go. Take good care, and I'll see you back here soon.